So I'm going to make just a simple pencil skirt, and it's really very easy. So we're going to do the same as we did before. I'm going to draw my centre line, and I'm going to draw the waistband at the top here. And my waist is 34 inches. I'm going to add as ease. So I'm going to add 2 inches for the whole of the skirt for comfort. I want to make it a nice fitting skirt. So that 34 plus 2 gives me 36 inches. I'm going to have to add seam allowances, and I'm going to do that at the end. So I'll leave that for the moment. For my hips are 42 inches. And I'm going to add a little bit more than 2 because I need to allow for me to sit down and stretch my legs and things like that. So I'm actually going to add 4 inches. Some of you might find that's quite a lot, so you might not want to add that much. So I'm going to make it 4 for me. That's 46 inches. Now, we worked out the rise. Now, the rise is the distance between your waist and your hip. Your hip is your fullest part, and your waist is your thinnest part. So you can do that either sitting down or standing up. I've done it on lots of different people, and measuring it while you're sitting down or measuring it while you're standing up is the same. You just need to look for the thinnest part and the fullest part and measure that difference, and that gives you the rise. So that rise is also known as the crotch line, but we're talking about a skirt here, so that's okay. So we just need to work out where I need to draw my hip line, and that's going to be 10 inches below my waistline. I'm quite a tall person, 5'8", 5'9". Depends what day it is, whether I've eaten my veg or not. So I've got a rise of 10 inches. So you might find that you might have a rise of 8, 9 inches. So measure that. And now we need to know the length of the skirt. Now my skirt length is going to be 30 inches. I want it quite long, so it goes past my knees. Waist is 34 inches. I'm adding 2 inches for ease, so the total waist is 36 inches. You can do this in centimetres if you want to. I work in inches, so just flip your tape measure over. So look up, for example, you want to see what 10 inches is, flip it over and you've got 25 centimetres. So my measurement works out at 36 inches. Now, we're going to divide that 36 inches into 2 because I'm using the front and the back here. So this represents one whole piece. Dividing that by 2 gives me 18 inches. So that whole length is 18 inches. And I'm going to divide that by 2 and that gives me 9. So that's 9 there and that's 9. So that's the waist line. I'm going to put there 9 inches and 9 inches there. Now I go down 10 inches, so that's my rise. So that's the distance between my waist and my hips. So if I bring that down 10 centimetres, that comes down to there. I'm going to draw my hip line here. Make sure that's nice and straight. And that's my hip line. So the whole of my hips is 46. Because this is only half the pattern, that brings it down to 23 inches. So this will be 23 inches. I want half of that 23 there and half of that 23 there. That gives me 11.5. So if I measure this at 11.5, that's there, and 11.5 is there. Okay, so what we do then is we actually draw a curve. This isn't going to be a straight line this time as in the trousers. This is going to be a curved line. So you can freehand draw this. This cost me £3 on Amazon. It's not a lot, but it is plastic and we are trying to reduce the amount of plastic we use. I bought this a very long time ago. So that's my hip measurement. Now I've drawn this pattern without use of darts. I don't need to put darts in this pattern because I've already allowed for that dart space with the use of a curve. Okay, I'm just going to put 11.5 here before I forget, and 11.5 here. All right, now the whole of my skirt is going to be 30 inches, so decide how long you want your skirt to be, and then I'm going to draw the template down 30, and that brings me to here. Okay, so I'm going to drop that down 30, but I'm going to draw it in a dotted line. I'll show you why. Now 30 inches is quite a long skirt for anybody, really. If you were making a pencil skirt and you were just thinking of something knee high, then you might want to go for 25 inches. So 30, even 32 is quite long. So you need to allow for movement, and you also want a bit of shape because you've gone for your hips there, and then what happens is you've got calves, little legs sticking out the bottom. So rather than have it square and dropping all the way down, which in a lightweight fabric will look good, in a heavier weight fabric like this, or this wool here, which I've chosen, might be too thick. So what I thought I would do is rather have this a full width of the hips. I'm going to bring it in a couple of inches. So from that end, I'm going to bring this skirt in 1 centimetre. So there's my line. So rather than go all the way up, I'm going to bring it in 1 centimetre shorter there, which is 1 inch shorter. And then just join the skirt like that. Okay, so that's the skirt shape, and that's it done. You make 2 of these pattern pieces and put a zip on the side. Because this skirt is so long and it goes well past my knees, I need to have some sort of split here, opening, to allow my legs to kick and walk. Otherwise, I'll be shuffling everywhere. So you need to add a vent here. Now, a vent over there, I would allow a 10-inch vent there. So let's put 10 centimetres there. You might not need it as long as that. So maybe let's put an 8-inch vent there on the back. So tell you what we'll do. We'll call this the back and we'll call this the front. Because the other thing I might as well do, if I'm going to have a vent on the back, I might as well put the zip on the back, and it will be much easier to sew a zip on the back. And you'll probably use a 7-inch zip. So if after the seam allowance it comes down to 6 centimetres. So I'll just make a dotted line to represent the zip, and that's going to be a sewn area. If I fold this in half, you can see what's going to happen. So this is my front piece. The front piece is going to be left as it is, so I can make it symmetrical. The only thing I haven't done is allow for seam allowances. So seam allowances, I tend to add ½ an inch, which is about 1 centimetre. So you decide how much seam allowance you want to add. So I can add all along there. And follow the shape again, and that's your seam allowance. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then at the bottom, add your hem. Now your hem, if it's going to be 1½ inches, then that's going to be about 4 centimetres. So 1.5, if I measure it there, 1.5 there. There we go. And that's my hem, like that. And I'll bring that down. So then I would remember to cut that on a fold of fabric. Okay, so that's your fold of fabric, and that's your front piece cut and ready. Right, if I flip this over, this is my back piece. Now my back piece has got my split there, which is, what did we say it was? I think I made it 8, didn't I? So 8 inches long, and I've got a zip there which is 7 inches long. Okay, so I'm going to have that so I can't cut this on a fold because I need to sew the zip in and I need to sew the vent in. So what I need to do is allow a seam allowance on that side. Now the thing with zips is zips have a tape which allow us to attach to the fabric, and they tend to be about 1.5 centimetre from the tape to the centre of the coil. You'll just be catching the edge of your zip, so that means your zip placement. So when you put your zip on your seam, you've got to make sure the coils are dead centre, but that will be fine because it's a really easy zip insertion that I'm going to demonstrate in this video. So ideally what you do is you redraw that whole pattern piece. And so there we go. So cut all that on the seam allowance. That's the hem. And then I would allow my 1.5 centimetres there. Okay, so there we go. So I've ended up with 2 pattern pieces. So front cut, one on fold. I've got a piece of paper here which will be the pocket, and it's roughly going to be about 12 inches by 16 inches, so that when I fold it over I've got an 8-inch pocket. You'll follow the pattern shape, so make sure you follow the pattern that you've got, just trace it round. It's this curve that's essential, and then when you get to the straight bit, that's fine. So hopefully that's going to be straight, having followed the seam allowance. And that's your pocket piece, and that sits like that. Oops. And that sits like that there. You unfold that piece of fabric that represents your pocket underneath, and then cut the shape out. So make sure, it's crucial to make sure that this side, this part of the pocket and that part of the pocket stay, and that whatever shape you cut does not go beyond that fold. So if you want to, you can cut yourself a nice curve like that. And then when I fold the pocket back, can you see how I still end up with the shape of the skirt, so that when I join the back to the front like that, I'll get a complete skirt finish. And there's my pocket. Really simple. So there are your 3 pieces.